Hi everybody, I'm Anucha from Moms and Crafters, and bracelets are my vibe. Today I'm going to show you a very basic beginner bracelet. I find that sometimes I neglect to teach the very basics when I'm trying to teach new designs, and this is the Spiral Staircase Bracelet, otherwise known as the Chinese Staircase, and I finished this off with a simple braid. I did forget to account for the loop with my sizing, but this is the gist of it. You can tie it like that. And the way this works is that you make simple forward knots. And as you complete each knot, which a knot is really a series of 2 times around, which I will show you, it forms that little sort of stitch kind of thing. That's actually the knot that just naturally, as your string moves along, travels around the bracelet, forming that spiral. It is one of the first bracelets I recommend teaching, and one of the first bracelets I made myself in day camp when I first learned how to make friendship bracelets. So this is a classic. And this is definitely one that you should start with because it really gives you the sort of muscle memory and the practice for the motion of how to make friendship bracelets. So to start with, I'm working with very muted color palettes today. There are different ways you construct your color palette. I'm just doing sort of color family that is, similar tone. So these are muted colors, and you can see I did the same here. And I'm going to be making these 3 colors. Now we are going to be cutting each of these to about 36 inches. Now, really, it's 38 inches, actually. I have an 18-inch ruler, and I'm doubling it over and cutting to 18 inches. So that is a double 18-inch, to clarify. So if you have your strings loose, the easiest way to do it is just to take them all together or a little bit past the 18-inch. And I'm doubling it over at the other end and continuing to pull my strings. Let's leave that there. I'm continuing to pull my strings. Until we reach the other end. And we always cut a drop more generous than we say we should, just because it's easier to cut away than to add, but we don't want to be too wasteful, which is why we give you the measurements. All right, so to start our bracelet, we're going to fold over the strings to form that little loop that you can use to close it. You can use 6 colors and just cut each one to 18, 19 inches. I recommend you can do as many colors as you want with this one, but I do recommend at least 6 strands just so you have that thickness, because you have the strings in the center that form the core. If you like yours even thicker, you can do it thicker. You can definitely do it even thinner. It'll be a little bit more refined, but you might start finding that you don't have enough structure to your bracelet. So I recommend using at least 6 threads with 3 to 6 colors. You could technically do 2, but I think that 3 just looks nice. If you don't like things too colorful, you could do a few shades of the same color. I actually really like how that looks, and I use that a lot in bracelets. So we tied a simple overhead hand knot at the end, just large enough to, easily put the big braids through. I made my first one a bit larger than I needed to. And now we're going to decide on our color order. Now I do like to consider, a basic, color wheel when I do this. So we're going to do the pink, then the purple, and then the blue. So take any of your pink threads, pull it out to the left. Now, if you find that you work easier right to left, that's fine. And we are going to make simple forward knots around it. So the way you make a forward knot is you take it, you cross it over, bring it around and behind, and then through that loop, and then you simply pull. Now, I work best in my hands, so I hope that's clear. I'm showing you. I'm pulling it all the way to the top. Now, that wasn't a knot. That was a hitch. That was just one round. Sorry. I was a little off camera there, so hopefully you understand what I did, and I'll repeat it. So now we're going to do the same thing again. Around, pass it under and around the strings, but over this one. And just like that. And now we formed the knot. So you may be able to see this. There's that little stitch that formed, and as you work, you're going to see that this becomes more clear. So we're going to count that as 2 because we are repeating the same thing. It's easier to do it in singles rather than pairs. And we did twice, and we are going to do that 10 times. Over, around behind, and then over that one. And then pull it up. That was 3, 4, 5, and we've done 5, and you can see that knot is traveling. Now, the interesting thing that happens here is that because you're continuing, each hitch sort of works as the second half of the knot. So it really you know, it makes sense to count it in singles because of that, because each one will sort of form its own stitch. So just keep on going. The only reason I'm being picky with my terminology is because later on, when you learn how to make more bracelets, it's going to be important that each time we say do a forward knot, you have to do forward twice. So this is a forward knot. So twice makes a forward knot. But in this particular case, we are counting in singles. So that was 5, 6, 7, 8, and you can turn your bracelet a little bit so it's a little bit more natural as you go around. 9 and 10. Now, it is a good idea to keep your tension even because you do want to have things sort of the same size. This is a little bit hard for me to do when showing it on video. But here you can see we formed our first spiral. Now, if you want a longer continuous spiral, you can really continue going more times. So over here, I did 10 times on each color, but I did repeat each color twice. Considering each string of each color, you can see it's 4 times. So each string was used twice because I had 4 strings. I'm sorry, I had 2 strings of each color. So now instead, just to show you how it looks on a longer run, we're going to continue to 20. So we're going to go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. See how that's forming? And there's where I stop. You could see that I interrupted my tension. And now I lost track. Let's say that was 17. See, it's a little forgiving. You don't have to worry too much about it. I could go back and watch the video, but I'd rather not. 18, 19, 20. And that's part of what makes this such a good bracelet is that it's super forgiving, you know, if you lose track of your count or if you're new at this or whatever. So that's really the last we're going to be using that string. We are going to be doing the color again, but with the other string. So now we're going to take the purple and we are literally just going to repeat the same thing. And you're going to watch the sped up version of it. So basically you group the previous string that you used with the other strings and you're pulling out the purple or your next color. And you are doing the same exact thing. You're simply knotting it around all the others and you're going to count and you're going to watch me do this sped up. All right, so now you can see we did 20 purples, and you can see it's basically the same length as the pink, so that's great. And now we're going to do the same thing. The purple has now joined the rest of the crowd, and we're going to pull out any blue. And we're going to do the same thing, sped up 20 times around all the other threads. Now, the only reason you really see me flipping it over is because I don't want to be pulling it in the other direction. So it makes sense to sort of like reposition it in the direction that the knots are going. All right, so that's roughly 20. Again, a little bit lost track of count because I started talking to you. All right, now we're going to continue and we're going to do each color again, but it is important because you can see the radical difference in string lengths to make sure that you're taking the longer one. So we're just sort of going to pick it out from the bottom where we could see the length. And we're going to repeat the same process, but now with the other string of each color, the one that is still long. All right, so as you can see, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done the purple now. I should have actually done the pink. I wonder how many of you caught it as I was doing it. So we're going to do something different and we are going to just go straight to the pink so that we have a pattern with the blue in the center and the pink on either end. So, you know, be flexible. Like I've mentioned before, I'm not so good at sort of keeping my presence. You know, I tend to get a little distracted and a little, you know, things don't go as smoothly when I'm filming. So it's always a dilemma for me, you know, how much to film, how much to record for YouTube, but I'm trying. So I'm just going to pivot, and I'm going to be flexible, and I'm going to go straight to the pink. And then if we need additional length, we'll add in some blue. Okay, and now I realize also that, so we did another 20 of that, and I realize it's actually the perfect size for my daughter, and she'll be so excited if I make her a bracelet. So let's keep it at that. Now to finish it off, I do like to, do a simple overhand knot at the end. So just to get this size, you would just have to have another round, but let's just do a simple overhand knot just to group the strings together nicely. Alrighty, here we go. So we got it through, and you want to position it right over there at the bottom. You could stick some sort of stick, like a toothpick, to like make it easier to like sort of travel the knot to where you want it. Just stick it in the inside and slide it. But anyway, I don't want this any bigger because she has quite the small wrist. Here you have it. I just cut this one. I didn't braid it just because it's going right on my daughter. I just finished it with an overhand knot. But you can split. And this is where my mic bailed out and was not kind enough to let me know. So I'm going to try to explain it to you. You can split the knots and sort of braid each side independently. Sorry, you could split the strands, braid each side independently, and knot it at the end. And that'll make it much easier to tie onto somebody's hand. So do that if you want, or just keep it like this. And this is definitely a great foundational bracelet to try in any color you want. It's really fun to make, and it comes together quite quick. In the description of this video, you will find a link to the full blog post, including step-by-step instructions and a printable version of the same without images, so it's easier to kind of just print out, or you can just follow through with these step-by-step images, and you'll find all the tips you need over there in that blog post. I have so many more bracelet videos in my channel and on my blog, including these wrapped ones, this beautiful crochet look one that's really an adapted chevron, the daisy chain. This is actually a very simple daisy chain, rag rug bracelets, these wrap bangles that aren't quite friendship bracelets, but they are really fun to wear as well. This beautiful flip-flop bracelet that is reversible, popular soda tab bracelet, the shoelace bracelet. So many ideas in my profile and on my blog, momsandcrafters.com. So go ahead and check that out, and you will never want to stop making bracelets. And make sure to subscribe if you enjoy crafts like this.